I got a weird call last week on Friday telling me I might have to travel for work, so...
Wait. In what world? Where are we?
Right? Like, A, am I actually working? B, that it would require travel? What?
Yeah.
You're listening to Dots, Lines, and Destinations, a travel podcast with hosts Stephen Seagraves, Fosma Moon, and Seth Miller.
Hello, and welcome to episode 310 of Dots, Lines, and Destinations. I'm Stephen Seagraves, joined by Seth Miller and Fosma Moon. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good evening.
I am stellar.
So, as the episode numbers increase, are we just going to pull Microsoft and drop the first number?
Oh, just like reset at a certain point?
Yeah, like next one could be episode 12.
Well, we'd probably want to do 11 first at some point, but putting that aside. I was going to say, should we just do Microsoft and call it episode 2020?
Whatever we want, yeah. Or should we pull
They started naming anything for years. Or Apple, we
just pick landmarks?
No, NP, new podcast.
That was episode 53, for what it's worth. 54? That's when we transitioned from points hoarders to dots, lines, and destinations?
I think so, yeah. 50, 53, 54, yeah.
Sounds about right.
Useless information taking up space in my brain. You're welcome, everybody.
Oh, man. So we have some follow-up from last week. Someone informed us on Twitter that a hockey team has 26 players. So a 737 is not crazy for the San Jose Sharks to fly around.
Our 12 was well off.
Well off.
We didn't even consider backup goalies with that number. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, do you really count the hot dog stand guy that gets called in? Can you count him as a player?
I really love the emergency goalie rule the NHL has.
I mean, it is pretty awesome.
Right? Like, there's goalie, there's the backup goalie, and then, like, just in case, in each city, there's some guy who can, in a pinch, just show up and play goalie and occasionally stop some of the pucks. It's really amazing.
There's Bill.
But that's literally what it is. It's like some guy who plays rec league still, and is, the best of the group or is available to be on call. And every now and then you read the story, like, where one comes in and actually has a good game and, like, gets the win. It's really cool. What other professional sport are you going to have, like, random guy rec league can actually come in and be a real, like, a competitive performer?
Could you imagine that with, like, pro football? Like, oh, we just called this guy in for to be the quarterback, and he just gets wrecked.
Now, I can't remember. There was something that went the other way, and I can't remember the guy. There's I want to say a former catcher in Major League Baseball that's retired and, like, lives in Central Jersey and has been putting together rec league games in Jersey for, like, him and his friends. And, like, but he plays in them also. He, like, played shortstop or something and, like, was getting out there and jacking home runs off the pitchers.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Air Canada.
Yes.
10x points plus a 15% discount for buying tickets now with a Crow-branded credit card. I'm guessing this is being pushed a lot on the blogs?
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of it. It's Bartolo Colon, for the record. Is actually running, like, a rec league, and he's got there's some crazy videos on Twitter of him jacking home runs. It's hysterical. So I haven't seen a ton of it. I also don't read too many other blogs lately because I find them depressing and anyway. But the gist of it is, like 10x points, fine, based on, super earnings, which is something a lot of airlines have tried to come up with, ways to get increased earnings for additional flights, right? We've talked about this for months now. Where I think this one's super interesting is the co-brand that they're including, is that it's specifically with the co-brand that you get the bonus points. And that really sort of changes the way the partnership works. Among other things, presumably that means the banks are chipping in a little bit of the money. But also, when you start thinking about, like, what it means for an airline in general to have just the better, the tighter relationships and the better promotions and truly, sort of grabbing at the loyalty, you kind of want that to happen. You want to have that partnership in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting to me. I like getting other partners involved. I think that if the airline has to work on its own, it sucks. And if they can get anyone to participate and help from the loyalty perspective, which, better value, better chance of it working.
I mean, do you think this is worth it for people? I mean, this is really trying to get people to travel, and there's a story later that we're going to talk about. But is this really a good idea from the travel perspective?
I mean,
that's a loaded question, right?
It is, right? Part of me, right? You can also buy a month of unlimited flights in Canada right now.
Yeah.
By the time this episode goes live, it may be over. So I think that's why I didn't put it in the notes for definitely talk about. I can't remember when that deal expires, but right from like 13 or 2,000, I think is the cheapest Canadian dollars was the cheapest price for the month long, and up to 5,600 if you want to buy the fare. That's basically books into Y. So you have last seat availability and potential upgrades. But like it's I don't know, domestic within Canada I'd feel a little better about, because for the most part they've done a better job containing things.
Yeah.
But more broadly, like, should you be traveling a ton internationally and transcontinental or intercontinental right now? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
All bad.
I'm going to take the next topic and let you guys run with it. Volocopter, because I have nothing to say about this. Volocopter is now selling reservations for a test flight 3 years from now. I just think it's like Indiegogo for, aviation.
Are you sure it's not like Kickstarter, which is like past, jumped the shark already?
Yeah, well, okay, it's Kickstarter, yes.
Like, so I'm disappointed, Steven. I thought you were going to be more snarky about this one.
Well, I have a crying baby in the next room that I got to go get.
Okay, fine. So my take on this is it is a little bit of that, but they're only selling 1,000 tickets for 30 euros each. So there's not enough real money there for this to be worth it to them, to like fund anything. At the same time, you're buying a reservation to be able to buy a ticket 3 years from now. They don't know where it's going to fly. They don't know when. It won't be before December 2022, and there's probably a 12-month window after that where it will likely happen. They will give you 16 weeks advance notice of the where, and then from then you have to go buy your ticket to get there and actually convert your 30 euro reservation into a 330 euro or 300 euro, I forget which, actual ticket. So not only is this like not a great way to raise money because there's not enough of it out there, but it's arguably like a way to get some people to pay you for advertising, because obviously we're talking about it and it made it onto Verge and to random other websites and got the company a whole lot of media. But at the same time, like, it seems pretty stupid to me.
Do you think they're going to actually sell a lot of these? It just doesn't strike me as something that's going to happen.
So we're recording this Monday night. It opened up, I want to say Thursday or Friday of last week. And they're still available for sale.
Yeah.
So that I guess that answers the question.
And to our listeners, I'm sorry, I am holding a little toddler here, and so you may hear giggles in the background every now and then.
I thought that was you.
He's laughing at me, talking to myself.
Oh, so he knows you.
Yeah, exactly. That hurts.
Yeah, this Volocopter thing, the other part of it that's like strange to me is, would you really buy a ticket not knowing where in the world? Somewhere in Europe or Asia is all they've been able to say, and they'll have a couple cities, and it's guaranteed to be at least a city of 500,000 people, and you will fly over the city. But like, it's just the whole structure of the deal is super weird to me when you start reading the fine print.
It's like a lottery ticket.
Except
that if you win, you
worse
have to pay a lot more for.
Air India lost money on 93% of their routes.
Shocking.
That's from April 2019 to March 2020 before anyone decides to play. Oh gosh, well of course, because of, whatever.
I mean, that's a year from last year they've lost that.
Yeah.
So that was, 2% more than normal?
I think this is just the normal, right? That's the point. It's bad. in defending it, the director of, or whatever, the minister of transportation or something like that, tried to explain that it's okay that, some of the routes individually lose money, but are needed to feed the bigger routes that make money, which doesn't seem to make sense.
93%, what route is making money?
9 domestic and 10 international. City pairs.
And how much money are they making? Like 2 points? Or
Certainly not enough to offset the others.
Well, clearly. Not even coming close to offsetting the others.
So, yeah, not good.
Did they name the 10 international ones?
They did not.
I was going to say, I bet it's like London, maybe a Chinese route.
Oh, I bet you it's places no one else flies.
I would be surprised if it's London. I mean, yes, high demand, but also huge volume, like huge capacity from everybody. Including the one stops with premium cabins that are super cheap. I would think that, like Foz said, it's smaller markets where there's lower competition.
Yeah.
Random point-to-point stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like the Tel Aviv route probably made money because it was faster than the El Alfa flight. But I would bet they're probably not much into Europe, quite honestly.
Interesting.
And, a handful of domestic routes in like the weird ways that domestic Indian flying works. Who knows?
I mean, the government is guaranteeing to take care of Air India, right? Is that kind of the way I'm reading it? Or are they saying we're not going to do that long term?
They've been trying to sell it for years now.
Yeah, but no one wants to touch it. So
right. And they keep saying, well, this time, we really mean it with the deadline. Part of the problem is, Air India tried to blame it on low-cost carriers or just, can afford to run lower fares, and that's why we keep losing money, because we have to compete on fares. And which is the sort of, roundabout way of saying we have our expenses are way too high.
Mm-hmm.
And we pay our people too much and whatever. And it's definitely not good.
Yeah.
So will they survive forever? I would say that probably Alitalia lasts longer, but South African also? I don't know.
I mean, they could make some money by selling some 747s to Christopher Nolan.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean, he blew up a 747 for the movie Tenet, and it was cheaper than using CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, bargain basement prices on 747s, I guess, guys.
On the one hand, it's sad, right? But let's try to assume that he bought one that was in need of a D check. So it was going to be pretty expensive otherwise to get it back into service, and that's why it was so cheap.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. This wasn't not that there's any of them that are particularly young right now, but certainly than 744s.
I imagine most of them are getting scrapped at this point because there's no market for them.
Yeah, I mean, over the weekend there was that rumor that Royce was going to buy a bunch of them, and that fell apart. So,
yeah, I mean, it's fast. I haven't seen the movie yet. I mean, probably won't, but it's just interesting to me that it's even cheaper. I mean, CGI is expensive. And what's funny to me is that
planes still cost millions of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah.
And planning to blow one up and actually loading it with explosives and stuff and doing that in a safe and controlled way also is not cheap.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Remember when they used to blow up small models of airplanes? For Independence Day when the 747 was coming out of the flames, they used to actually blow models up of stuff.
What was the movie True Lies?
Oh yeah,
Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And Tom Arnold, and they blew up they built extra floors on a building and blew it up in Miami.
Yeah.
For that end scene,
it would be pretty sweet to be part of a movie, production crew.
Hey guys, we need to actually just build a couple extra stories on this skyscraper so we can blow it up in a few months. Don't be late.
You're like, yes, I'm game. Seth, you put this in the show. I'll let you talk about it. BA and Virgin Atlantic bulking up for Pakistan routes? What's the
I did
deal
not
here?
do that.
I did
No?
not actually.
Oh, Foz. Oh.
Come on.
What's the story, Foz?
He's going native.
I don't.
Huh?
I'm curious as to what's going on though. Both BA and Virgin on very short notice with it. I think they're both starting October, if not sooner. Are adding 2 to 3 routes to Pakistan.
It might have something to do with the fact that Pakistan International Airlines can't fly to Europe anymore.
But that's a lot more lift than they ever had before.
Sure. I think that they're betting on the fact that PIA isn't coming back as part of it. And then also, I think it was one of the countries that just had pent-up demand and probably was loosening some of the travel restrictions.
But I think a lot of those people used to come through the Middle East anyways, though, because of the product.
Yeah, but the Middle East carriers have been suspending those flights. Because despite there being no restrictions, there have been a bunch of imported cases from Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fascinating, right? On a broader scale, the airlines have historically been such monolithic beasts, yet somehow they've become very nimble with route planning. Right? You look at some of the stuff like JetBlue is doing, or United's been doing, or even Alaska, and they're turning on a dime from a route network perspective, which is unprecedented.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating, like in the international, domestically, it's easy, but in the international space, how do you get all your ground stuff squared away that quickly?
Yeah.
You lease, you just call someone up and be like, hey, there's a plane landing next month. It'll be a 777. You cool with that?
You call up Swissport.
Basically. I love that Lahore to Heathrow is only one letter off in the airport code.
I never even thought you realized that.
LHR to LHE.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's where my brain went, but
I got a question for you about that. Let's just going on a tangent here. Do you guys ever look at license plates and look at the airport codes that are in them?
Yes.
Okay.
So New Hampshire has one of the highest densities of custom license plates because they're very cheap to get a vanity plate here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just driving around on an everyday basis is a game of why did they pick that? I don't know if you guys remember this. In the 80s, there was a TV show about license plates, a morning TV game show.
No, I didn't know.
It was partners or couples, whatever, and they'd show something on the screen. It was 2 teams of 2, and one person would buzz when they knew the answer, and their partner had to guess it. So you had to know if your partner could figure it out also based on the clue and on the letters on the screen. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember watching it as a kid. Anyway, there was one that I saw the other day driving around, which was just MAA. The people driving the car made me believe that they probably were from India.
That's funny.
MAA being the airport code for Chennai, Madras, the old name, right? So
is it no longer the name MAA?
MAA is the airport code still. It's a question of is the city called Chennai or Madras? I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Some have changed and changed back, and I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, that was a fun that one. I was like, what? And then I as they got close enough that I could see the people inside, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got that one.
I'm a connoisseur of license plates and airport codes.
All right.
Yeah. BAF seats are getting doors on their new 77Ws.
Well, the whole Club Suites business class with doors was a better hard product in theory because of the door. So that's a little awkward, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's on. So just kind of on the topic of first class and business, I saw that Emirates is dropping. There's a number of routes are dropping their F product to the U.S. on.
Well, they're dropping their 380s.
Yeah. And some of their routes that they're going to pick up with 777s, they're only doing with the 200 LRs, not the 300s.
Yeah, which partly for no first class, but partly because that's the fewest total seats.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny though is that the business class on those is probably better than the first class on the ERs, on the old ERs, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to BAF. So I guess this is big news for BA customers if they care about doors.
I mean, it's nice. It should be better.
You don't seem convinced.
I'm less convinced that the door is like the difference in whether I'm having a good flight or not. Like, especially, I don't know, just like the half height doors, whatever. Like, does it stop someone walking by from looking in? Not really, because they don't go high enough for that. And I'm like, when I'm I guess the main thing it would do is prevent me while I'm seated from catching movement out of the corner of my eye. But again, I'll still see them higher up.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So Foz, what do you think?
I mean, doors are nice. I just think that people make too big of a deal about some of these things.
Yeah. Like it's going to be the best thing ever.
Well, I mean, it does come at a cost, right? The door does take up space when you have find them at a real estate, and that's what people like. You know, people got all excited about the Delta seats with the door. I'm like, that's great, but you're going to take an inch or two away from the seat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's your you have to pay that cost somehow, right? That space cost. Let's talk about that next, Seth, since you are editing the document in real time. You can
Since
just
we're talking about first class and shifts to product. Lufty is finally confirmed today, which is, I think I said earlier, Monday, this week, that it really is going to park the rest of its A380s and 346s.
Wow.
In long-term storage. So this was, looking back at my notes of where I've been tracking of this, the 10 346s I had already marked as parked long-term back in April, which I guess was just an assumption, but that has proven true. And the 380s, they'd already parked 6 of them officially, and now it's 8 more. And the comment is, something to the effect of, unless there's an unexpectedly rapid return of service or of demand, this ain't happening, right? Like I think Lufthansa originally in July and August was hoping that the trends would hold and they'd be back to about 50% of traffic by end of the year. And now they're saying 20 to 30%.
What do you think? Like, I mean, do you think long-term storage really means retirement?
Yes.
Well, didn't they also indicate that the Austrian fleet's probably going to get retired as well?
Not the whole fleet.
Well, the wide bodies, the long haul. It sounded like
the Austrians got I thought Austrian had some new 77Ws, no?
No, they
Swiss
only have
does.
Austrian has 772 ERs and 763s, and I think they're all just around 20 years or longer.
I thought the 763s were definitely on their way out. I mean, the plan is 150 planes now retiring, which is up from 100 by the middle of the decade. Like, it's 22,000 job cuts that they'd already planned isn't enough. And oh, by the way, they're still losing. As a group, they're still losing 400. They're still losing 500 million euros a month, and aiming just to get that to 400 million by the end of the year. Things are not going well.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, just the idea that the group is planning 20 to 30% capacity for the end of the year is just brutal.
Yep. I mean, and it's strange to see Lufty planes on flight radar and stuff kind of going all over the place. But they're out, going out half empty for the most part. So
If that,
yeah. So, and then United 787s are all getting Polaris. I actually saw this the other day. I was looking, Houston Sao Paulo, is a 787-9. And it was Polaris config.
Yeah, no, I mean, the answer is like so it's not all the planes were originally scheduled to get the conversion, and now the rest, a bunch of them are, which to me also says that the company plans on pushing more 763s out more quickly when it has the chance. But the comment of like, this is what our business travelers expect. We need to have the consistent product, and we need to have, and this is what the fleet of the future is: 787 and 777. So then you're done.
You really think they're going to push the 763s out?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they've got 788s that are vaguely similar capacity, and longer term are going to be cheaper to operate. From a fuel perspective, we'll see. Or just that, they're getting old.
Well, they are getting old, but they've put a lot of money into them, right? I could see them delaying their 321 XLR order and using them on PS.
PS is the 737 MAX 10, not the 321 XLR.
Yeah. But I could see them.
And you got to replace. You need the XLR to replace the 757, and the 763s are almost as old. Like the 763s are maybe a stopgap, but also like with the high J, like you can't use the high J config necessarily. Okay, dude, we can use the high J. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
He's saying yes.
Appropriate response.
Yes, he wants to sit in business class.
Oh God, you're gonna open that can of worms on us right now. I think that he would be very well behaved in business class.
No, I don't think so. Not like this. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I'm gonna go on mute. I'm gonna let you guys talk.
Yeah, but I mean, Foz, think about it. There's only so many planes that they can still fly, and part of this is that there's no demand. So you make cuts, right? Like the 757s have been ready to be retired, and they were stretching them out, hoping for something transatlantic. But maybe you use the 763s as a stopgap there. But like, I don't know. I don't feel like there's going to be over the next 4 or 5 years a huge downturn. I mean, again, we have to see what the numbers are, but a huge downturn in new aircraft investment necessarily.
So, I mean, that's the thing, right? Rather than financing new planes, that's why I think that we might actually see these planes reused. Because it's going to be cheaper to pull these planes out of storage and use them than actually have to pay.
Is that just for incremental demand or for general demand, though, right? Like, yeah, they'll come out of... You can get a plane out of storage very quickly, which is good if there's a sudden change in what the demand pace or demand curve looks like. But despite the fact that it's, always cheaper to operate the older plane that you already own, at least from a leasing cost perspective and financing perspective, fuel costs matter. The airlines, whether they really want to commit to it or not, are paying attention to fuel burn more now. And just overall, like, we say that every time, but also these sorts of mega events generally result in fleet turnovers. And so when you start looking at what all the airlines are saying, every single one of them is saying, we're getting rid of the old fleet. The exception is arguably Lufthansa that is keeping the 747s in favor of the A380 being retired, but the A380 is 25% more seats. Other than that, who's keeping older planes instead of saying we're accelerating our transition right now into the recovery?
They just sent the Bird a 300 in to be retrofitted with Polaris this week. So I'm inclined to think that they're thinking they're not going to get rid of them that quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. Why does that quickly? 5 years?
5 years is a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think that they keep the ones that are Polaris and they get rid of the ones that they don't convert? Because there are some that they haven't converted.
Correct, but I think John NYC posted they just sent one to Wilmington today.
A 7.6 or a
763?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised. I guess I'd be a little surprised if they. It's a C check, not a conversion necessarily. By the way, is what he mentioned. The ones that already have Polaris, I could see keeping it for the 763s and keeping them in business. I don't think that you're going to necessarily retire them all immediately. At the same time, I certainly don't think they're going to completely. I don't think the 763 fleet as it existed in January fully flies again ever.
No, I agree with that, but I don't think. First, I think most of them have already been converted. From what I remember, I think most of the fleet will come back, unless something if the trend stays, I think most of them will come back. No, they might not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Delta's opening a tech center in India, so that's going to piss a whole bunch of people off, just like United was starting to hire out there.
Yeah, so there are 7 763s which have not been converted.
Yeah, I certainly would expect that those conversions will take a backseat to the 787s that were announced. Or not announced, but were indicated today.
Yeah, I could just see those 7 exiting, but I think the ones with Polaris, I think we'll see come back.
I guess they can come back. Will they all? It depends on how demand comes, and I think that the 777s and the 787s will lead rather than follow those, is what I'm saying.
I think we have a higher risk of seeing more exits of the 77s, particularly the 200s, the older United ones, than we do 76s, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess the question is, the older United ones are mostly the HD configs, right?
I mean, they have a bunch that are not HD, which are actually Polaris. Even some of them have been converted to Polaris.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how many seats they need.
Doing all the Chicago.
How much of that's cargo? How much of it's cargo? Also.
Well, Chicago's getting all 7.8s, right? That was their commitment.
Yep. Because people were tired of flying on the old 772s.
Yeah, because they have 74 772s, right? 22 came from Co. So that's 52 that are still Legacy United.
It's a lot of planes.
Yeah, and 38 763s.
So if you say, well, most of them come back, will 2763s come back? Probably. Fine,
Well,
you win.
I don't think they... No. I think we've beaten this one to a dead pulp.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you guys want to talk about Super Elite, Seth?
Yeah, you got Air Canada status?
No.
It's worth a free snack now.
Ooh.
Right. This is sort of like actually similar to what the United and the U.S. carriers have done for benefits. If you're an Air Canada Super Elite, which is their top tier, 100K, you get a free snack and drink if you're stuck in coach as meal service returns to the flights. The bad news is they're limited only to the shelf-stable snacks and not the good meals. And the free alcoholic drink, I think, is only up to like $6.95, which makes it sound, which I haven't looked at the menu, but I'm assuming there's some specialty drinks that are more expensive.
Like, why even be that stingy at that point if you're giving them one drink? What's an extra couple of bucks?
For the few people that take it?
Yeah.
Well, a couple bucks times a few people becomes a couple few bucks.
Right, but these are allegedly your most important flyers, right?
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. It's, yeah. There's a lot of numbers there, but there's a lot of math that goes into those numbers in the calculations, but I don't know.
And if you have a co-brand credit card, do you get like an extra credit for your drink so you can get the more expensive drink?
That would have been smart.
Fit it all together. It's a pack. It's a bundle.
It's pretty soon you won't be able to tell the difference between a blogger and a flight attendant.
If you get this credit card today, anyway, use my flight attendant code to sign up.
Exactly. I might earn a commission on this.
That's how they have to start all of their safety briefings. I would lose it. So let's talk about the coronavirus a little bit. The CDC has stated that they have 1,600 cases of people who have flown and tested positive for COVID-19. And they believe that there have been about 11,000 people exposed on airplanes who have flown with these 1,600 positive cases. Thoughts on this? Things I'm missing? I mean, we've talked about before that like planes are relatively hard places for the virus to spread because of how the way the air is filtered and, but you're still really close to people. So, just interesting.
But over what period of time?
Right? What do you mean? Like
this 11,000 people, 1 month, 6 months, right? That makes a big difference.
Yeah. I don't know if it's in here. Let's see. Only a few weeks for around 500 of the cases. So,
I guess, there was another study published, and published by the CDC is a weird term in some ways, but did the CDC say it, or is it just saying that this, this study that was submitted seems to be valid? Because some of the stuff is that, and some is, the department actually saying things. But there was that other study of in March they tracked a spread of of coronavirus on a plane, and they said, it went between business and economy, and so just the idea that because of that the airflow wasn't necessarily enough, and that's arguably true, right? We know now to wear masks also, but at the same time, apparently of the people that supposedly got it while on the plane, the a bunch of them were all traveling as a group together. So did it happen on the plane, or did it happen before or after? We don't know. There's a whole lot of unknowns in these studies, I'd say, about the airplane stuff, which is not by any stretch for me a way of me saying absolutely go fly, it's 100% safe. I'm not entirely convinced, but
I think that's a good point. I think that we're not doing controlled studies of airplanes and airflow on airplanes heavy right now. It's not like there's I doubt that's the top of the list of priorities for researchers, is how does airflow affect COVID? I think most of them are focused on finding a cure, or finding a vaccine, or finding, a way to prevent the virus. So, yeah, you're right. We're in an uncertain time where this stuff is kind of they're trying to take the data that they have and come to some kind of conclusion about it. So yeah. Fozzie, it sounded like you were going to say something.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Or if I was, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh, no worries. So yeah, it's just I thought it was an interesting write-up by the Washington Post. Yeah, we'll post the link in the show notes. Foz, I want to talk to you. You actually flew.
I did.
First time on a plane since March?
6.5 months.
Wow.
How'd it go?
It was okay. You know what, though? I don't miss it.
Which part? The dealing with people, or?
Well, it's the first time in 15 years that I can say that I walked into the United C1 lounge and found a seat without any problems. But overall, security was blazingly fast. It took all of 2 minutes. But overall, I kind of don't miss the travel aspect of it anymore. It's kind of, I was commenting to one of my friends, it's after, in essence, detoxing for 6 months, you come off the hamster wheel, and then when you go back on the hamster, you're like, why am I here?
Yeah.
So
you sort of you lost the sort of habit, and so now you're like, what, do I really want to start that all up again?
Well, that, and I look at my bank account. And look at the shift in funds and go, well.
See, I found a hobby that's almost as expensive and still requires me to wear a mask. So I'm idiot here.
But
which also just tells you how little I spent flying. But
it was fine. It was kind of surreal. It was amazing to see everything so empty except the flights. Somehow the flights are full, but the airports aren't.
Do you think people are delaying their arrival into the airport until as late as they can, so they don't have to spend any time inside?
No, like at Newark, right? You've got 6 monitors, only 1.5 had anything at 5 p.m.
Mm.
Right, that's unheard of. One of the displays by the security checkpoints, United just ripped out and just used the monitors to put up a nice United logo.
They took out a whole security checkpoint?
No, the displays for the flight.
Just the FIDs,
yeah.
Whatever.
OTG is trying to hold on, but a lot of their stuff was closed.
Wow. How was it wearing a mask the entire flight? Because you did a transcon, right? You did Newark, San Diego.
It freaking sucked. Pardon me.
Yeah.
It sucked, and what I realized is, because I don't normally have to do this, I occasionally have to wear reading glasses, and wearing a mask with reading glasses is not realistic.
that strap doesn't work well with reading glasses.
They fog up.
They fog up. Like
It's not just reading glasses. It's anything. I mean, I get it with like my sunglasses on if I go outside.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, but I mean, United is okay. They actually, on the PS flight, or Coast, or whatever they're calling it these days, there was actually a hot meal. It all shows up on one tray, all pre-wrapped. 2 options, which was decent. On the non-Coast flights, it's just you get a snack box.
Gotcha. And so you didn't end up taking Mint on this one, huh?
No, Mint wasn't flying from San Diego yet, and from LA, it was really expensive.
Gotcha.
That's the thing that I don't... This is the one thing, from airfare standpoints I don't understand is they're not selling the premium cabins within a week, but they're charging like they're full.
It's isn't that like an economics theory, scarcity? Even if it's false scarcity, even if it's not scarce, make it look like it's scarce.
I guess, but a time of desperation, is that the time to play psychological games?
Touche.
The one thing I will say, very disappointed about United, is they broke their app.
How so?
So it used to be, if you had a flight, you pull up the app, you could check in, you get the flight card. Now it won't even show you anything in flights because they've changed something with the authentication mechanism. So now you have to go pull up My Account. So it first loads the reservations, then you can check in. But then if the session times out, like in the middle of your flight, you can't get to the second boarding pass. The boarding pass isn't in the app anymore. The card doesn't update.
That's definitely broken.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, just minor.
You get
something to do with all the like flight change stuff they built into it.
No. I don't think it has to do with that. This just has to do with, I think they opted to make a decision to try to hide. The one thing you could always do was pull up a reservation without re-authenticating. And I think someone in their infinite wisdom said, we shouldn't do that, but didn't think about all the ramifications it would have.
I mean, maybe like tied to the story that came out from Australia of the guy where former Prime Minister Tony Abbott posted his PNR and someone pulled up his details and had his passport number.
Yeah, but you could do that without authenticating, though. Like, you could do that today if you have someone's last name in their boarding pass. I think what Foz is saying is, like, if you think about... I mean, maybe United was scared by that, but I think really
there's no way they changed anything that quickly, for the record.
Yeah.
I mean,
and this is still your personal device. You're already logged in, right?
Yeah, I don't think what they took into account was the fact that if you're on your iPhone, you have to use Face ID or Touch ID or your passcode to get in to the phone. And then you're signed into the app. I mean, I don't want to sign in every time I need to do something with a boarding pass.
No.
So, like, the whole point is
and if there's an extra authentication step that needs a connection, that's even worse.
Exactly.
Like, just because I'm on the plane doesn't mean I bought the Wi-Fi, or even the free Wi-Fi that's supposedly for the United app. It's still pain.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and you posted the Roberto Colon tweet?
I got you a video. I did that for the show notes.
Okay, cool. We'll post that for our listeners. I think that's a show, though, guys. What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think it covers a lot.
All right. To our listeners, you can find us on Twitter @DotsLines, moredotsmorelines.com. You can support us on Patreon. You get a little bit of extra content at the end of the show.
I do have some other things I want to talk about now that you mention it.
Oh, right now?
Well, no, for our Patreon supporters.
Oh, okay. All right. Just a teaser there, huh? Yeah, but find us on Twitter @DotsLines, moredotsmorelines.com. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Take care.
See you soon.